So today I'm going to show you my process of sketching and painting a Longhorn Beetle on top of a plant called Tea of Heaven. I used watercolor for this painting. First I went outside to look around for a suitable plant to paint underneath the beetle, and I found this interesting flowering plant named Tea of Heaven, which is originally native to Japan and Korea. I will write the scientific name in the info box. The flowers have male and female parts and are insect pollinated, as you can see at the end of my video. The Tea of Heaven plant comes in different varieties and colors. The leaves can be very different and the flowers' colors change from day to day. They go from nearly white to pink. I sketched the outlines of my Longhorn Beetle already at home. Another name of the beetle is Longhorn. The scientific name is Cerambycidae. I'm going to write this in the info box down below. I will tell you a little bit more about this beetle later on while painting. While I was sketching the plant, I had company by this very curious observer. When I was nearly finished sketching, I took some reference photos for later. I put those photos on Patreon for you to use as reference if you want to sketch or paint this plant also. At home I started with an underpainting. The paper I'm using is SMLT watercolor with a weight of 280 grams per square meter. For the underpainting I used cadmium yellow and light yellow. I used a pointed round brush for this so I could get in all those tiny corners. I have an old set of Schminke watercolors which I chose to use for this project. And here's the thing, I let them sit out in the open and now there is dust on it. I could clean this out, but I don't want to waste so much color, so I decided to use it anyway for my sketchbook. I think I only left it out for 2 days. I don't know why this is happening, but I think the amount of dust that collects on the surfaces of my studio got more. I have to dust my surfaces every day if I want them clean. It's ridiculous. Anyway. Next, I started to paint the leaves. I used green and permanent green with a little of cadmium yellow here and there. I decided to paint a small pointy leaf on the right side because there was an odd gap and I didn't want to put a big leaf there. I tried to be really careful not to paint into the petals because I didn't use any masking fluid and I want them to stay white. So next I painted the florets and little stems for the florets. For the florets I used a mixture of light yellow and May green. For the little stems I used permanent green. The florets grow in clusters, so I tried to get that accurate. I decided not to put too much detail in it because there is already so much going on in this composition and I didn't want it to be too distracting. I skipped the part where I painted the blossoms. I used Payne's Grey with a lot of water and only painted the shadows and outlines and some of the fine lines. I used a very fine round pointed brush for those. Then I did an underpainting for the legs and antenna, where I also used Payne's Grey with a lot of water. For the markings on the beetle I used opaque black and light yellow. Longhorn beetles are an interesting family of beetles. There are more than 35,000 species documented. They have the most amazing colors and markings. A lot of them have long antennae, which are sometimes longer than the body, which is the case with my beetle. What I found interesting is that some mimic the color patterns of bees and wasps, which really stick out, while others are colored to camouflage into the environment. For the markings on the legs, I used opaque black. And I didn't use a lot of color, a lot of water, but I tried to make it not as opaque as the other markings. I think putting the details is the most fun part. That's the time where the beetle really comes to life. For the antenna I use a really fine brush because the antenna gets very thin at the end. And there it is, the finished painting. After it was dry, I went outside to take some pictures. And remember, you can find some photographs of the Tea of Heaven plant on my Patreon account, which you can use as reference photos for your artwork. You don't have to worry about copyright issues.